Hello, welcome to another Universities UK Innovation and Growth webcast. The topic of today's webcast is enterprise education. My name is Greg Wade. I lead on innovation and growth for Universities UK, and I'm joined by Sheila and Keith. Sheila, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Sheila Quairney. I'm in my day job the head of enterprise at Sheffield, Hallam University, but I'm also here representing the national membership organisation Enterprise Educators UK, of whom I am the current chair.
Excellent. Keith?
I'm Keith Burnley. I'm CEO of the National Centre for Entrepreneurship in Education.
Welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Sheila, can you describe your organisation?
Yes, Enterprise Educators UK is a national membership organisation, so we have over 100 institutions as members, and that's both HE primarily, but we also have some FE colleges as members, and then individual members of staff can join that. And we're there to support our members and help them to promote what they do and to celebrate what they do in the broadest sense around enterprise education.
Brilliant. Keith?
Yeah, the mainstay of NCEE's work is the Entrepreneurial University concept, which has actually been the subject of a previous webcast.
Indeed.
However, we do also work on enterprise education, and we do that often in partnership with Enterprise Educators UK.
Lovely. And do you work in partnership in other ways?
We run a joint conference every year, the International Enterprise Educators Conference, and part of that is a national award that we give out for both enterprise in the curriculum and outside the curriculum for both HE and FE members. So that's a way of promoting and recognising what our members are doing, and we run that jointly and have done for several years now, haven't we?
Indeed. And if we're considering any activity in relation to enterprise education, we hopefully always consult with our colleagues in Enterprise Educators UK.
Yeah.
Good. We're here to talk about enterprise education. Could you sort of give us a brief idea of how you define enterprise education and its scope?
Well, enterprise education is more than just about starting businesses, and there's often a common misnomer that it's about enabling students and graduates to start a business. It's much broader than that. It's about how we can help our students to develop skills that are going to help them in the world of work, as well as if they want to take an opportunity to market in a commercial sense. So it's about those soft skills that employers value, giving them the opportunity to practice being creative, solving problems, working in teams, communicating, all those sorts of really important attributes for today's labour market.
Yeah. Excellent. Keith, have you got anything to add?
No, I think Sheila summed that up very nicely.
Brilliant. So, I mean, I know quite often the sort of count of the number of startups per student or per university is a strong indicator, but it's really good to hear that it's much broader than that and relates to graduate skills.
Yeah.
Could you tease out the link with employability and the employability agenda?
It's an important facet of employability, because to be an employable graduate in today's climate, you're competing globally with graduates from across the world. And you've got to show that it's not just about your subject knowledge, but it's how you've applied that subject knowledge in maybe a practical situation, because that means that you understand it better and you've got something to talk about at interviews. So it makes you more employable because you've been practicing it, you've just not been doing it in theory.
Yeah.
I think it's a wider version of employability too, in that it helps prepare students for most things that they might do in their working and social life, voluntary organisations, etc.
And of course it prepares them for self-employment, which is a particular facet of employability, and one that's increasingly becoming more common amongst graduates. It's the opportunity to freelance rather than be employed by somebody. So giving them the skills and the practical experience makes them probably more likely to either decide it's something they want to do or that they're not suited for, but it enables them to try something out in a more safe environment as well while they're at university.
So it sounds like so presumably students should very much value what it adds to their employability skills and should be really interested in enterprise education. Do we have evidence of that?
Yes, there's been a recent EU study called The Road to Success about the value of entrepreneurship education in its broadest sense across the EU and actually across the world that shows that students really benefit from and appreciate the opportunity to do more experiential activities, to actually put their learning into practice, and that gives them a new dimension to the course, because many students respond to doing things in a more practical sense than necessarily in a more academic and theoretical sense. And we know that it helps them at interviews and if they're going for jobs as well.
Yeah, so it very much complements their academic study.
I think so. It's got to be both sides. So they have got to have opportunities to put what they're doing into practice. I mean, many universities offer an industrial year out, which is one way of doing that. But you don't necessarily always get the opportunity to put your course knowledge into practice on those placement years. So if you can do projects as part of your day-to-day learning that are about working with other people, about putting your skills into practice for the benefit of local industry, for instance, then that's a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah. Excellent.
I think there's an important point as well, that if you just concentrate on startup support and that, you know, the purpose of enterprise education is to help people start up a business, that undersells it to students, and students are much more interested in something that actually can have an impact on their whole future. So I think you've got to be careful about not emphasising startup too much, although again it's an important part of what enterprise education can do.
Yeah. Okay, so it's important to employability, it's important to students. Is this importance reflected in how universities are implementing and addressing and delivering enterprise education?
I think increasingly so. I think universities are recognising how it's benefiting their students, and their students are their customers, and their customers will vote with their feet. And it's a way of universities differentiating themselves from other universities if they can show that they are offering these enterprising opportunities to students, not just business students, because that's a common misnomer as well, that it's all about business schools. And of course it isn't. It's students in any discipline can benefit from the opportunity to put their learning into practice in a very practical way. And then of course we've got the Entrepreneurial University Leader Programme, which is another way for universities to differentiate themselves, isn't it, Keith?
It is, and indeed the Entrepreneurial University Leaders Programme in a sense is operating at the strategic level and encouraging universities to be entrepreneurial. Being entrepreneurial includes providing good enterprise education opportunities for its students and indeed its staff in a sense. I think the other thing to just bear in mind is that a lot of this activity is funded through things like HIFE and European structural funds, and therefore we do need to look to ensuring that this activity really is embedded within the universities, and that's a challenge universities face with all the competing pressures that they have.
Yeah.
So I was just going to mention the National Student Survey, because that is one way that increasingly universities are measuring how satisfied their students are with their experience while at university. And it's something that most universities pay a great deal of attention to, because it's a league table and we will love our league tables. And so it comes through in that, I think, if students feel they've had an interesting, valuable, worthwhile experience through enterprise in their curriculum and external to their curriculum, then I think that only helps with them feeling happy with their whole time at university.
Yes. I'm speaking for Universities UK. We can't underestimate the impact of NSS on institutions and how they view their performance. It has a significant impact. I wanted to quickly talk about social innovation, because it's a theme that pops up in a number of areas. European structural funds, it's a theme. It came up in the Lord Young report. What's the link between enterprise education and social innovation?
Well, a social enterprise is a business.
Sorry, shall I ask that again, but say social enterprise?
Yeah, if you like. Do you want, because I'm leading on all these
Sorry,
questions.
I said social innovation.
Yeah. Don't worry.
That's all right. I don't
We're
mind.
up to 10 minutes as well, just to let you know, like with the breaks.
I think
Up to
we're
10 minutes.
almost.
Okay, we're almost there. So
Yeah.
we're on the last three.
Okay.
So I'll ask that question again, but say social enterprise.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I wanted to just briefly ask you about social enterprise, because it comes up in a number of areas. I mean, it comes up under European structural funds, which you mentioned, Keith, and it also came up in the Lord Young report, which we've spoken about. Is social enterprise very much a part of enterprise education?
Yes, very much so. And I think many students are quite passionate and have ideals and are very ethical about the way that they view the world. And social enterprise is a really good way of engaging them in an enterprising activity which also has a social purpose, or primarily has a social purpose. So at Sheffield Hallam, for instance, and at many universities, we have a strong volunteering arm, which can be extended to develop into some form of enterprising activity. But we also run a project across the whole city with both universities involved and the local college, primary schools and secondary schools, working with local social enterprises and using the creativity and commercial acumen of students from the age of 7 right the way through to university students to help to deliver and solve some of the challenges that those social enterprises are facing. And that's been a great project to see how the different age groups work together and can come up with creative solutions, and how that benefits a local charity or third sector organisation, but it's actually being delivered in a commercial setting, because that charity, that social enterprise, has got to survive. It's got to be able to develop income to keep it alive. And it's those messages. It's not just about doing good. It's not just about good works. It's actually about this organisation is a commercial organisation. Yes, it has a social focus, but it won't exist unless it can generate some income. And that, putting those two things together is often a bit of a wake-up moment for students, I think.
I think it's an important point, the benefit that all of this activity has on local economies. That I think that is recognised to a degree, and certainly Higher Education Funding Council and others are putting monies into social enterprise, and structural funds have been used to support enterprise in a general sense. I think there's a job of work to be done to ensure that all of this continues under the new arrangements that are coming in through local economic partnerships and structural funds and the various other initiatives, because universities and their students and staff have a really significant role to play in local economic development, and enterprise education does support that quite significantly.
Enterprise education is really, especially working with local businesses through courses, it's a really good way of students understanding their local environment, because I don't know about you, but when I was a student, I lived in my little bubble at university, and I really didn't have much connection with the world outside my bubble while I was there. But increasingly now, students are interacting with their local environment, which is going to be good for graduate retention, especially with so many students being drawn into London as a first destination for jobs. And most universities are working really closely with their LEPs to try and have a more integrated offer, especially in terms of business support with the rest of the infrastructure in that area.
That's really positive. I think that's been really interesting, some really positive work going on in universities of value to students. My last question is about what do you see as the future challenges?
Shall I?
Go on.
I think that in a sense the challenges do relate to that last point about there are some significant new ways of things happening through some of the funders that have supported this sort of activity. I think universities though do appreciate that the way forward is to provide a added value to their students, and enterprise education is clearly added value. Who knows what the future is going to look like in terms of funding in a general sense, and this is an area that's ripe for development, and let's hope it can.
And I think what we see in Sheffield is very much enterprise education being delivered at primary level, at secondary level, at FE level. When the students come to university, they're going to expect to be able to build on that and to take it a stage further. And so it's back to students as customers looking at what universities are offering them and saying, well, how is this going to expand what I've already done and take me a stage further and help me to develop and round myself as a global citizen for the future. And so I think that universities will through things like the NSS and league tables and student feedback, will start to see this coming through more and more as a factor in future funding decisions.
Yeah, so some challenges for the sector.
And opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Keith, Sheila, Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
That ends our webcast. As usual, we will have links to both Keith and Sheila's organisations underneath the YouTube broadcast. And if you have any questions, please raise them with either three of us or the team at UUK. Thank you.